Hey YouTube, hopefully the third time is the charm on this video. I've been hit with a denial of service on the past 2 upload attempts here. I'm Ronan Savage, the host of the Ronan Savage channel, and today I'm going to bring you a little brief history about the roots of Gnosticism and early Christianity. First of all, I think it comes from the teachings of Pythagoras about 500 BC. Pythagoras is a compound name. It's a symbol also. It's a symbol for the tetractys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, the divine number, contains all within it. Pythagoras is Pytha and Goras. Pytha represents the wisdom of knowledge, the serpent of knowledge that was conquered by Apollo at the temple or in the cave at Delphi. That the python that the oracle at Delphi apparently heard speaking to her when she gave her revelations. You know, and the only thing that the oracle at Delphi had as hard and fast rules were know yourself and all things in moderation. Pythagoras took the view when he traveled from Phoenicia to Chaldea to Egypt to Babylon to India, and he was even, I believe, the spiritual guide of Buddha and the founder of Buddhism. He was an ascetic completely, a rejecter of the eating of animal flesh. He was a vegan. And an astronomer, an astrologer. He believed that through music we could heal ourselves, so he understood that all things were vibration and frequency. He believed that all things disseminated from a monad, and then to a duad, so the father and to the mother, and then from there we have the triangle, so you can think of a point, a line, a triangle, and a square. Those are the 4 things that basically all of our reality consists of. And then we have the idea based off of the square of the circle, and the idea of the circle is God. So he's given us the idea of himself within this simple knowledge. That was destroyed because his school, Pythagoras' school at Crotona, was eradicated because he refused entry to some guy named Colonna or something like that, I believe. And his school at Crotona was in Italy. He refused refused entry to some high-up politician guy, who formed like basically a crowd of dumbasses to attack the Pythagoreans, saying that there was some secret society that was trying to undermine democracy and rule with some aristocratic elite, which would probably have been better off anyways, because what's ruled by a democracy except for ruled by a big dumb blind beast? The best should rule, in my opinion, but not the best monetarily, the best spiritually, and that's the problem that we had in the world for thousands of years, is people think the best equals who can wear the most gold chains, and that is false. Spiritual gold, how much spiritual wealth do you have? So these teachings went underground. They popped up again with the writings of Plato and Socrates. Socrates alludes to it in the Republic, that the teachings of Pythagoras were still around in 333 AD, and then we have Aristotle. Okay, and after Aristotle, we kind of lost the tradition until around the time of Jesus Christ, which was just the teachings of the ancient monad and duad. Jesus Christ, so Jesus is the monad, Christ is the duad, the Father and the Logos, the infinite possibility, the infinite field of force, if you will, in quantum physics, and the Logos, or the observer. The 2 things in conjunction make our perception of linear reality in existence. So literally, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, the rose and the cross, if you will. So the teachings that I've discovered within the Bible they're coded. Roberticus Fluticus, the great Rosicrucian himself, believed that the whole entire Bible was an alchemical treatise, and I tend to agree with them wholeheartedly, 110%. It's completely and totally misunderstood by Orthodox Christianity, by and large. There are at least 7 different keys, according to Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, which one should use when interpreting any text. Go read those yourself. Okay, so Simon Magus was a Samaritan. He lived in the land of Samaria, north of Jerusalem, which would have been more heavily influenced by the Hellenistic tradition of Greece and the teachings of Gnosticism. And we have the Gnostic texts, which were discovered in 1945 in a field by some farmer, 56 Gospels that weren't included in the Bible, that were called, quote, heresies by the early Christian church fathers and the founders of Orthodox Christianity, who were really nothing more than the Roman Empire trying to formulate a system of enslavement, of willing enslavement of the masses. They sought to institute the state as God, as the Godhead on earth. And no, we all, each individually, represent effigies of the Godhead on earth. We are not them, we're just symbols. We are arcs of the Spirit which descends from Ra, the almighty black hole sun, through photon energy down and distilled through our atmosphere. It falls down into water, onto the earth, and then it pulls into lakes and rivers and oceans, and then heat makes it evaporate and rise up and forms clouds, and then it goes and falls down in rain, and it does it all over again in a big cycle, and it creates plants and life and animals and everything in between, and we're but a mere spot on that spectrum. But we're self-consciousness, we are aware, we are the microcosm, we are everything contained within ourselves, and if we learn how to look inside and know ourselves, then we will be able to better ourselves and humanity for the future in ages and ages and ages to come. You've got to look in these books and you got to find out what they mean and where they're going, son. In this book right here, Collected Works, number 14, Carl Gustav Jung, The Mysterium Conjunctions, he breaks it down. He talks about Simon Magus in 5 different places, but originally with alchemy and Manichaeism. Okay, and Manes, or Manes, was the religion that flourished with the Knights Templars. It's all Gnosticism. And he connects Buddha with Simon Magus. And Buddha is just the Greek version of Buddha means spirit guide. So that's what Buddha was. He was Siddhartha Gautama, a Hindu prince who became a spirit guide, a Buddha. Wow. Enlightenment. It's radiating. Woo! Okay? Let's break this down right here. Some wisdom. Then follows an explanation. This is Mysterium Conjunctions, page 139. Then follows an explanation about how two contrary natures, active and passive, arose from the first simple substance. God, first simple substance. In the beginning God said, without uttering a word, let there be such a creature, and thereupon the simple was there. Then God created nature, the primal material, the first passive or receptive principle, in which everything was present in principle and potency. In order to end this state of suspension, God created the causa agens, like to the circle of heaven, which he resolved to call light. But this light received a certain sphere, the first creature, within its hollowness. The properties of this sphere were heat and motion. It was evidently the sun, whereas the cold and passive principle would correspond to the moon. It's way above your head, I'm sure. I don't know, but if not, here we go. Let me read you something from the Tao Te Ching. Note number 29. I cannot refrain from pointing out the remarkable analogy that exists between Simon of Gitta and Pseudo-Apollonius on the one hand. Now, if you know about Apollonius of Tyana, he's been compared directly to Jesus Christ by many people's writings. And I'm telling you that Simon Magus in the Bible, in the Holy Bible, the one that Simony is blamed on, is actually the man that was teaching the teachings of Jesus Christ, bringing the truth to people. Because if you read John chapter 9, the Pharisees call him a what? A Samaritan possessed by a devil. Who was Simon but a Samaritan sorcerer? Someone that the Pharisees would have claimed was possessed by devils, because he was working miracles and had the people of Samaria thinking that he had, quote, the power of God. Read Acts chapter 9. This right here, note 29. The components of the Tao are the masculine yang and the feminine yin. The one hot, bright, and dry like the sun, the other cold, dark, and moist like the new moon. The Tao Te Ching says of the original being, there was something formless yet complete that existed before heaven and earth, without sound, without substance, dependent on nothing, unchanging, all-pervading, unfailing. One may think of it as the mother of all things under heaven. That is Abraxas. That is God. That is the infinite and the almighty, the unknowable, the terrifying creator and the destroyer, all in one. That is the truth we all reside out of, we've all sprang from, and we will all dissolve back into, and eventually be regenerated out of again in a different form, a different evolution, if you will. Not a revolution, but an evolution, because we're here to grow. And what is growth but change? So don't be afraid to change. Don't leave the bike in the creek. If God leaves you a bike in the creek, for God's sakes, wait out there and take it. God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to my channel if you like this video. Thanks, and tune in. Namaste.
Hell yeah.